Hey Rémi,
Hello,
how are
how are
you?
you? Do you do you prefer that I use the background that you sent
Oh,
us, or
if you want to, yeah, it
yeah,
totally
I don't,
depends on you. Yeah.
uh yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked a bit weird with the white yeah,
Like the cutting,
yeah,
yeah.
the cutting around the yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Is it all right if I stay like this,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's fine.
okay. Yeah, it's okay. I guess I kind of have to because I'm like in the organization. So
Yeah, yeah.
last time we did that, I was like, if you want to use that, and I guess I'm mandatory because I'm part of the organization. So this is my responsibility to advertise for this organization. So you don't
Okay.
have to. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's another speaker. Hey, Yuni.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Remy is our speaker as well, and he also works with me at Queen Mary. And
Oh,
Yuni came. We met last year's LAGB summer school, and she's also on the LAGB committee. So that's the connection.
Okay,
nice to
cool.
meet you, Remy.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet you, Tom.
Nice. Okay, let me let more people in. Oh, and Masha, you need that that's your colleague, right? Oh, hi.
Hello,
Hi, nice to meet you finally.
good to meet you. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Of course. Just one thing before we start. I guess you also received the message that Christina unfortunately can't make it, and for the participants of the panel talk today, I guess we will unfortunately have a lower turn up because of the summer is coming, and then a lot of people will be traveling on vacation, and also like end of the summer, and so they be working on different projects. So which is like sad because like normally we will have like 30 some people turn up, but it's just like unfortunate that this time we might not have as much people as before. But it's okay because we will have the recording, so we will post on YouTube. In that way, like more people will have the access to our amazing talk, but
No
we
worries.
can maybe wait for another 2 minutes. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Sure.
Actually, I
Yeah,
see
that's
you've
fine.
you've all used the background, so I may come back with the background. So we all have the same background.
At
Okay,
the
I'll be
same
right back.
page. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Although Tong and Masha, I'm seeing yours backwards. You're probably seeing mine backwards.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
but are you seeing your? Oh, that's true, and I see mine the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, some magic happened there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine is the right way, but all three of you, yours background is the other way.
I think everyone sees their own the right way because when someone accidentally like shares their whole screen during a Teams call, I see that
Um,
I am like mirror image from then, like whatever they see is the mirror image of whatever I see.
uh-huh.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Because I deliberately like did the what do you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
makes
then
it look right for you, but only for
only for
you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. That's weird. I don't know how to fix that actually, but it's okay.
That's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, anyway, I'm happy to see you, Tong. And I see Masha, but like we don't talk about linguistics. And nice to meet
Ah.
you, Remy, and whoever comes. So if this helps one person, us just hanging out, that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so 2 minutes is up. I'm like really strict about the time, and so maybe let's just get started. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our May talk of our career series for this year, and we will take a break for June, and we might come back for July for a talk on computational linguistics, and I will have two of my amazing colleagues and professor from America. One is working for Duolingo, and the other one is working for University of Pittsburgh. So we will have our July career event talk for the AI, like computational linguistics kind of stuff. And then August, we will go to transfer to another event for PhD application. So yeah, I'm really excited for this talk, and really excited to see Yuni, to see Masha, and also to see Rémi, even though we see each other often. But yes, and welcome for the our participants of this talk as well. I know you guys are all very busy, so thank you very much for your time to make it to the talk. Okay, let me stop talking and let Yuni talk, because I know you have other priorities. So we can start from you. Yeah.
Thank you. Should I actually like go ahead with my whole spiel, or are we going around? Okay.
Yeah, you
hi.
can go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Yuni Kim. I'm at the University of Surrey, where I work in the what's called the research office. It's the research grants support office, so helping people to helping academics to get funding. I've been doing that for 2.5 years. So my pathway has been that I studied linguistics in the US from undergrad. I knew I wanted to do linguistics starting in undergrad. I was doing mostly phonological theory, so kind of hardcore generative linguistics, a bit of Indo-European, as they did in my department. And then I spent a year doing sociolinguistics at the University of Helsinki in Finland. I got a fellowship to go abroad. So at that time I was quite into Swedish and Finnish, Nordic languages. So that was a little bit of a different direction after doing the phonology, but I did enjoy that. And then I went to do my PhD at UC Berkeley. And I kept going with phonology, morphophonology. And what I got involved with there was language documentation as well, or I would say field work. Yeah, I wasn't doing what most people would consider documentation until a bit later on. So I did a lot of field work in southern Mexico with an indigenous language called Wave, and that was the subject of my PhD thesis, which was on the phonology and morphology of this language. So this was, I finished in 2008, so that was quite a while ago. The job market was not as brutal, I would say, then as it is now, although it was still pretty bad. I was lucky and I got a lectureship at the University of Manchester to start in 2009. So I came straight from my PhD into a permanent position, which with the track record I had, the relative lack of publications just wouldn't happen today, but it happened then. It was it was a really difficult transition, I would say. So in retrospect, even though it was nice to have the security, I didn't have the teaching experience. I didn't have, there are many kinds of experience that I was lacking that made a very uphill climb. So even though the dream was at that time to get a permanent position, and I had one, and that was great. Actually, maybe it would have been easier in some ways if I'd gotten more experience through some, lower pressure positions or opportunities to gain different kinds of experience first. But anyway, that's how it went. I was there for 8 years. I left in 2017. So now, you're wondering why I'm in this on this panel, because this is supposed to be about career options outside linguistics, isn't it? And I went to the University of Essex, where I was also a lecturer in linguistics, teaching phonology still. So really same thing. I eventually left in 2022 and then came to my job. There were lots of different circumstances. I can probably talk for a long time about the reasons why I left. Strangely, even though my whole adult life was doing linguistics and all of my kind of circles of networks, professionally, people that I knew, everything was all about linguistics. So I never thought I would change jobs. ever since I changed, I've never looked back. I don't think I've had a moment when I've regretted making this change. So what do I do now? Well, I think I can backtrack to when I found the job ad. So for various reasons, I was contemplating, what are my options other than this job? And part of the issue was that I had a long distance commute. So I thought, well, the closest university to my house, what have they got going? I just, looking at their job listings, and there was a full-time job. You just help people apply for grants. That's it. And I thought, wow, I can do that. So I applied and I started doing it. And I guess leaving academia at the stage that I did have the advantage that I had kind of an established research program, established networks, collaborators, things like this. So I've tried to stay research active. But the way someone put it at a conference, they said, wow, so you've gone from supervising PhD students to supervising academics. That's like leveling up. And it totally, yeah, that is kind of how I see it. I talk to people in lots of different fields. I ask them about their research, what they're working on. It's actually much easier to understand what people in different fields are doing than I thought it would be. I think because in theoretical linguistics, it's just so hard to explain to anybody, even what phonology is. I was a lecturer in it for a long time. I think I still struggle. But other people who are like solving problems that you can relate to, like the problem with morphophonology is that it's so unconscious, people don't even know they have it. So you try to tell people you're solving that problem and they don't even understand that this is a problem. But climate change is a problem. Everybody can understand that. And so I actually started out working with lots of engineers and physical scientists, and I've now moved on to cover more fields. I'm putting together collaborations across disciplines, which I find really exciting. I give people feedback on their grant applications. I find out what's going on with the different funders. So I would say as an academic, I didn't understand the funding landscape at all. I don't know, I didn't get it. And also working on the professional services side, I get a lot of insight into university leadership and how universities work. Again, something I never had access to even as a senior lecturer. So that's been really fascinating. I could imagine, an interesting career working for these funders. UK Research and Innovation, they're in Swindon. They advertise jobs, and you can manage research funding and see what's going on. It's quite exciting and very varied. No two projects are the same. No two academics are the same. Some of my reflections are that I think reasons to stay in academia are if you have a research vision where you would really like to lead a group, where you need kind of the resources of the university and the academic structure to have postdocs, PhD students, kind of a cohesive team working to carry out these projects that you've conceived and that you direct. For someone like me, doing largely theoretical linguistics, or even though I have done a lot of field work, I have this data. There's a lot of work to organize it. There's a lot of work to properly archive it. I don't particularly need that. So in a way, I'm able to do this in the spare time that I have, because something that you might learn from talking to people who have jobs where their responsibilities in research, teaching, and admin are that it's often quite stressful and you often don't have much time left over for your research. Or, leftover is not supposed to be the way you think about it. You're supposed to plan in time for your research, but let's get real. When you have deadlines for other people, when you have to walk into a classroom tomorrow and deliver a lecture to 100 people, you kind of need to prepare a bit, or just enough that it doesn't go completely wrong. So I would say that's a good reason to stay in academia. Not good reasons are because you think it's your only option, because it's really not. Maybe later on we can reflect more together on ways that studying linguistics puts you in a unique position. I think has put me in a unique advantage in doing this kind of work that I do. But I think I've been talking for nearly 10 minutes, so maybe, especially given the small audience, maybe I can hand it over and we can continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yuni. Thank you for sharing your very unique journey, and also just to make you feel not weird about why you are here, and also why Masha and Rémi are here. Not like our career event talk, especially for this one, is our intention of doing that. Is because I feel like people nowadays often talking about like leaving academia or like staying in academia as like a binary option. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, as if there's no other thing in between. So last year when I met you, I was still in this like mindset of like whether if you leave like academia or you like stay in academia. And I was really struggling with this idea. But last summer when I met you, I was like, oh, this might be something I can tap into, because there is actually an option that you stay in academia, but there is just like more opportunities and possibilities that you don't just do research or teach. You can have like other options, whatever works for you. So that's why I had this intention and like idea of like doing this talk, which is not about having options like outside of academia, but it's like within academia. Because I think like sometimes if you only have like a binary thinking, then things can go quite extreme sometimes. And also I know there are people nowadays, they stay in academia and also they stay in industry. They can do both. Like they teach and do research, and then they are like advising like industry, like startup companies and stuff like that, which is also something we had like last summer school. We had a invited speaker from Pittsburgh. It's also was one of my lecturer there. So yeah, I think it's like the intention of this series of talk, and especially this talk, is about offering especially linguistic students like more options, like because you mentioned like if like studying linguistics puts us in like a interesting position where a lot of us think this is like staying in academia or leave academia is like the only option, or most of the people nowadays, or not nowadays, in the past days, think that like only staying in academia, like teaching, is the only option, because like how do you translate like linguistics to other fields? But actually you can do that. So yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I like doing the research without pressure to publish in certain venues, or without pressure to bring in money, or without pressure to be trendy. I think for some people, status can be quite important, and I would never take that away from them if that's something that is really meaningful, but it's not so meaningful to me. So, I kind of thought, okay, so in X years, if I'm full professor, what then? Oh, more of the same crap.
Yeah.
So, which
Yeah.
is admittedly not how everyone thinks about it. But yeah, and I didn't come up with this idea like out of the blue. I have to say I did have kind of role models. So these were generally people who were junior to me, younger than me. But I saw them do this. I saw them take employment outside academia and stay somewhat research active. So it's almost like you spend this time in your education gaining improving your brain, getting a lot smarter, and then getting a lot of skills, and then you also have this linguistics that you can do if you like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's when you mention like role models, I think that's also something that we try to do as in this like career event talks, because you guys are role models, like all the speakers, you guys are role models, so that other linguistic students can learn from it. Yeah, so shall we pass on to Masha, and then we can come back to for more questions for you. Yes. Okay, Masha.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And thanks, Yuni, for sharing your experience. It's very interesting. And also, it's interesting because I realized that we have more parallels in our path than I initially thought. So, yeah, my name is Masha, and I'm a research development officer at the University of Surrey. So just like Uni, I help people to apply for grants, but we have a bit of a different domains of expertise. Uni deals with more strategic, bigger opportunities, and I deal with kind of specialized grant schemes, and specifically for Faculty of Arts, Business and Social Sciences. And again, another similarity I see, just like Yuni, I was kind of born and raised a linguist. So I completed my bachelor studies in Moscow State University in theoretical linguistics. Then I completed master studies there as well as a computational linguist. So it was in 2014, and then I got a PhD position, which was joint between two universities, in the University of Melbourne and the University of Birmingham. And after that, I received a postdoc at the University of Surrey, also as a linguist. So it was a really long period of time where that's all I was doing. Within linguistics, I did quite different things. I started as a lexical typologist. I then moved to sign language linguistics. My PhD was on Russian sign language. And then in Surrey as a postdoc, I did morphology, namely South Slavic languages. So I moved within linguistics quite a lot, but I always stayed a linguist. And that was my mindset. That's something I like doing. That's something I know how to do. And from that, this naive idea comes that if I do this well, and if I work on my projects well, and if I build good relationship, then that's what I will continue doing. So the path is quite straight. And yes, indeed, I managed to build really good connections and really good relationships in Surrey. So it was within Surrey Morphology Group. We led what I believe quite a successful project. And it worked so well with me and the team that we ended up submitting 2 grant applications with kind of 2 different sub-teams. One was for Leverhulme and the other one is for AHRC. But not very lucky, both of them ended up to be unsuccessful. And this was quite a crucial moment for me because I needed to think, okay, what do I do now? So there were various reasons why these 2 grants didn't work out. For one of them, we know that we should have done something different. For another one, I'm pretty sure the problem was just time, because it takes a long time to write a grant. But now when I'm in this position where I have these research groups that loves me a lot and I love them, but they can't give me a position, what do I do? So one option was to look for other linguistic jobs elsewhere. But for some personal reasons, I really wanted to stay in UK and preferably in the flat that I have in London. So I didn't want to move too far. And then you have 2 options, really. You can either slowly kind of and quietly keep looking for other positions within the UK, but there is not a lot because, as Yuni mentioned, job market is brutal. You can, so realistically, 2 options. You can either keep writing grants, which would take 6 months, a year to write, and another year to get evaluated, and then it can be successful or not. Or you can move sideways. But where did I move? Because I was a linguist my whole life, and this is the only thing I know how to do. Yes, we can teach, we can do translations, but teaching not the easiest thing to do if you don't have a certificate in translating. Well, for me, it's just not fun. So then you need to think a little bit outside the box. And that's where I think, yes, having a role model was very important. So I was very lucky because I had a nice, friendly relationship with a research development officer at the time. I hope he's okay that I mentioned his name, Garth Weinman James, was really sympathetic to my case. And who explained me, one thing which I wasn't that aware of, that if you have the linguistic education and if you worked as a linguist your whole life, you can actually do a lot. And that's when the topic of transferable skills came up. So he showed me this, I couldn't find it for this talk, but maybe you're aware of this. He showed me this little kind of circular diagram, which lines up all the skills you gain actually as a researcher, and then what kind of other domains they can be applicable to. And even though the diagram itself, I think it was a little bit too abstract to gain any kind of concrete use of, what it did was an emotional unlock. So I thought, oh, I learned to do a lot of things which are useful elsewhere. And I ended up getting this, actually his job. So he moved up his career stage. He moved to a different university, and I took the job that he had of research development officer. And indeed, I feel that my training as a researcher makes me probably the best candidate for this position, because a lot of things I do, I learned to do them before, just in a different field. So, for example, I regularly search for different grant calls. Well, good thing I know how to search for things, because I need to search for literature reference all the time. I review grant proposals. Again, good thing I know how to review stuff, because I've been reviewing journal articles and conference abstracts. I do a lot one-to-one kind of mentoring. Again, my experience of mentoring PhD students and MA students helped. And also I organize training sessions, and that's the direct, I use my direct experience of organizing different workshops. So a lot of things I've been doing there, I'm actually doing here, but just I'm applying them to a different area. But moreover, again, as Yuni mentioned, it's not just being able to do your job well, which I was really relieved to know I can, but it's also learning your stuff which you wouldn't be able to learn if you stayed within your predetermined path. So yes, it's learning about how the university works. So many hidden mechanisms which we are as researchers are not aware of. And it's the discovery happens every day. So that's a very rich source of information out there. It's learning about what grants are out there and what themes are kind of trendy at the moment. And also really learning about cutting edge research, because you talk to people who are about to apply for their new projects. So what is fresh, what is happening, what the researchers thinking about, all of which is really exciting. But then, Tong, as you very rightfully mentioned, it's also not completely cutting off your link with academia, because, well, for me, it was actually super lucky, because I ended up staying in the same university as I was before. So it's still Surrey, which means that I still keep a very close relationship with my research group. But then, yes, I can keep writing articles and presenting at conferences. So it's all going on the side, but it's just the proportion of my time has changed. And I think, yeah, the positive kind of thought to take from this is that we can do much more than we thought. And then my vision of my future is not that clear yet. So I don't know whether I will continue this path, or whether I will go back to research, or whether something third comes back. But the good thing is that now I know that I have all of these options. Whereas I think the way we were brought up was just like to have one road in front of you. So that makes also, I want to say that the sessions you're running are so useful in this respect, because I think it would be great for me to be part of one of them when I was a PhD student. So yes, thank you for doing that. And I think I'll stop talking here.
Thank you. And I think thank you for sharing. I think it's really interesting that both you and Yuni also mentioned about like transferable linguistic skills, that because of the linguistic training you have, so that enables you to do your job right now. So I think that's something we can come back and talk a little bit. And then also second thing, Masha, you mentioned I'm interested in which is like making good connections, because I think connections came up quite a lot when I was like listening to your sharing. And I think that also speaks a lot about, making good connections, making, good relationships, and also maintain and like make use of those relationships are it is really important to us, because the people we know, we meet on the road, they actually will help us in the future, and be part of our network. Like I know Yuni, and then like this talk is basically because of our connection, right? So yeah, so can we talk about maybe linguistic transferable skills first, and then we can go to the like making and maintaining connections before Rémi talk, because Yuni has to leave like a little bit earlier, so that's why I'm kind of like prioritizing her. Yeah.
Right. So do you want me to talk now or the Yuni?
Sorry.
Well, who do you like to speak about this?
Like I would like you. I would like to offer like the floor, to open the floor to whether Yuni or Masha to talk about the transferable linguistic skills. If that's okay with you guys.
Okay, Yuni, we want to take this one.
Sure, yeah. I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, so one thing I think I learned to do well as a linguist is craft a narrative, because I remember struggling with a lot of papers where I had data, I had observations, I had patterns, but what does it all add up to? You can paint a picture that way in support of that conclusion, or there's so many different ways you can cast it, and I would struggle a lot with trying to find the best way to frame the research. And somehow I feel maybe we have more ambiguity in, at least in theoretical linguistics, in so many different ways we can frame something, or in terms of the implications and the argument as well. Because certainly in theoretical linguistics, you often have nowhere to hide. Your argument has to be really watertight, very focused, because you're often comparing theories or analyses that are very similar, and you have to be very precise and very clear. And these are all skills that are very applicable to grant writing, and not just writing the grant, but even thinking about the research. So conceiving the project in the first place. So asking questions like, okay, so what's your hypothesis here? Or what would this mean? Or what would be the consequences? Why would people care about this? Again, questions that people should be able to deal with in any field. But somehow I feel like linguists especially bash their heads against the wall, getting really good at this aspect of it. I also think that linguistics, depending on the education one has had, is potentially a bridge to all disciplines. So there is very systematic algorithmic thinking. So it's actually, it was really easy for me to understand, to some extent, obviously not the technical details, but what a lot of people in engineering disciplines were doing. Because I understand the idea of a system. I understand the idea of interacting systems, inputs, outputs, thinking rigorously in those kinds of terms. But because of my training in sociolinguistics and fieldwork, I know what it is to do ethnographic research, qualitative research, semi-structured interviews, this kind of thing. Yeah, so I think when we look at different aspects of language in different ways, we learn how to think in many different ways. And that's not something that you come across in every field either. So I think that's positioned me quite well to be able to talk to people in apparently quite disparate fields. So I would say those are the salient points that I think linguistics offers to something like this in supporting research.
I think one thing also I can add is I think one thing also we learn to do as a linguist quite well is to search for specific information in a vast field of garbage, because you really need to like to be super determined to find how many times do we need to look for that this language has this specific suffix with this specific meaning, and then you look through this piles of grammars and none of them give you proper information, but then you manage to still kind of deduce what the answer is. And the job I do definitely requires it, because you have to deal with a lot of grants, a lot of calls, some guidelines here and there, and then quite often there is no direct answer to a question, whether or not this can be costed in the grant, whether or not this is allowed. And so the fact that I already have this trained determination and kind of the skills to deduce what is the right answer, have a disparate pieces of information is really, really helpful.
Yeah. And I also realized that I'm like keeping Rémi silent. Like I'm not on purposely keeping you silent. You're welcome to join our discussion. And then the second question I was asking was connecting with people and also maintaining the relationship. And I think it's really important for us to explore the field and then meet mentors and role models and. Yeah, so maybe can you guys share, can Yuni, Masha, and Rémi share some thoughts on making connections within academia or outside of academia, and then maintain those relationships and make use of them in terms of your career development.
Yeah, I think I can start with this one. So I think the main thing I have to share here is that it is hard to overstate the crucial need for making connections. And a very easy indicator of this for me is that when I was looking for a job, I did apply to several places for several roles, and the only kind of job that I got was the one when I had this connection. And even though Gareth was not on the job panel, still the fact that he knows me, the fact that when it was discussed and the people who discussed said, "Oh, I know Masha, she's very nice," I'm sure that this played a role. And so I think now when the financial situation, the economic situation in the world is very uncertain, and so the job market is generally quite challenging, I think it got even more important. And it doesn't mean that you only can get a job where your uncle works. But the fact that people know your face, they know who you are, makes all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe don't have a lot to add to that. I would say in my job, I do use some of the connections that I have from my academic life. So colleagues at universities that I previously worked at, either in within the same department or even in other departments, because I always did like to go to talks in other departments sometimes. You know, if you're on like a faculty-wide mailing list, sometimes you get the announcements for talks in other departments. It's not really the done thing to go because nobody has time, but I would go because it was interesting. And maybe that was already an early sign that I didn't have the narrow focus that is rewarded in academic life. Yeah, I think it's always good to know lots of people, and you don't have to be an extrovert. If you just show curiosity, well, I guess you have to have a bit of curiosity to other people. If you really don't care, then I suppose it's hard to force it. But yeah, you never know when your paths might cross or become relevant to each other again, because I'm sure there are people, I'm sure if I thought for a few minutes, I could come up with many examples where when I met the person, it wasn't clear to me what intersection we had in terms of common interests or pathway or anything, but this only became clear much later. And it sounds also a bit stupid to say be nice to everybody, because you would never give the opposite advice. You wouldn't say be mean to half the people you meet. But you don't ever regret that either. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think I can relate to when you were saying that you will never know it, like immediately when you meet this person, like what this connection can go. And when I met you, I actually didn't really visualize like we will have this talk. It was just like an idea, like implanting in my head, but now it's happening. So I think it's really helpful in a way that this connection can go and our network can expand. And finally, Rémi, I'm so sorry for keeping you silent for 40 minutes.
Not at all. I was happy to listen. So do you want me to talk about like connections and things like that, or?
No, you can start your freestyle. Yeah.
Okay, I can start my freestyle, then I'll do
Yes.
that. So hello everyone, I'm Rémi Lamarque. So I'm currently lab manager for the linguistics department at Queen Mary University. In this position, I provide tech support for the students and the researchers there. But I'll talk a little more about the job later. First, to talk about how I ended up there. So I studied in the University of Aix-Marseille in the south of France, where I'm actually from. And there I did a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree in Japanese studies. So yeah, at the time I was not into linguistics at all. I loved studying languages, obviously. Otherwise I wouldn't pick this kind of degree. But yeah, at the time I was just studying things because I think they were interesting, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, when I was reaching the master's degree, started to think about like what I want to do, like what kind of job I want to do in the future. And I thought, oh, maybe like being a professor in a university doesn't sound so bad. I had no idea what that meant or what research was. It wasn't like not clear to me at the time, but just like the idea, and started to look into that. And yeah, that's where I realized I need to do research, do a PhD, like to study a field where you do research and you can get a PhD, and then maybe you can apply in the future for like a lecturer position or something like that. And so I looked at what was available at my university, and this is where I discovered linguistics, and I fell in love with linguistics and did a master's degree and then a PhD. And yeah, so that all went well. And so after the PhD, I had a contract as a temporary lecturer in the same university where I was doing my PhD. And this is a special kind of temporary lecturer contract that they have in France, where you can do it 1 year, and you have to be like a PhD student that finishes PhD during the year. Then it can be like renewed 1 year, and then you can never do that kind of contract ever again. So I did that, and then I was at the end of the second year, the renewed second year, and I was open to pretty much everything, postdocs or any other kind of opportunities that would keep me on the path of research. And then I saw that job, lab manager at the University of Queen Mary, and I had no idea that this kind of job existed, but it sounded interesting, so I just applied to it, and yeah, then I got it, and this is where I'm at now. So why did I find that job interesting? Well, so maybe first I'll explain what I'm doing in the job. So as I was explaining before, I'm providing tech support for the researchers and the students, and that means providing help with everything that is considered as technical. So it could be the use of equipment. So we have several labs at the university where we have all kinds of equipment, like we have soundproof booth, equipped with all kind of microphones, recorders, all kind of things like that, audio equipment. And then we have an eye tracker, so machine that allows to track the movement of the eye when people are doing like some kind of linguistic task on a computer, for example, like reading, for example. Then we have an EEG system. What else do we have? An ultrasound system. So kind of equipment that is not easy to use when you're not familiar with the equipment. So if anyone needs to use it and is not familiar with it, they can ask me for help, and I can like show them how to use the equipment. I can also help with coding. So if there's an experiment to code for you know, a kind of a computer experiment where something has to happen on screen, and yeah, if people are not too familiar with coding, I can help with that. And then data analysis as well. Well, that's yeah, obvious what it is about. Just analyzing data. Yeah, and so yeah, I really find this position interesting because already when I was towards the end of my PhD, I realized that the best moments for me were the times where I had technical challenges and where I had to find a way to overcome them. So clearly for me, the part where I had to, for example, apply for the PhD grant was not the part I preferred. The part where I was put in competition with others in general, like also when I have to write a paper or write the thesis itself, that was not my favorite part. Favorite part was really like those technical challenges, like with this problem, we want to do this. How do we do it? And yeah, you make your brain works and you find a solution. And so now I'm doing that for other people's project, and that's really great. And that allows me to work on a lot of different projects at the same time. So yeah, I keep learning about a lot of different things, not only on the technical side, because of course every projects have different technical needs, but also since they're all like linguistics research project, they also have like theoretical, like they're all different from a theoretical point of view. So I keep learning about linguistics in that position. Yeah, so I think that's it. Sorry, that may have been a bit short.
No. I think it's really interesting because we have been colleagues for almost 2 years, and I actually have never, got to know like your journey, like this side
Yeah.
of you. So it's like quite interesting to know that this is actually like your story, even though we've been working closely for a long time. So yeah, and okay, so maybe we can start with our discussion with the prompts I had. Let me check. So some reflection questions I will say, but I think some of you might already mention like the takeaways from your journey. But do you want to add some more takeaways and suggestions from your own unique experience?
Should I talk a little bit more about what I was just talking about? So it's just a continuation. Yeah, so for me, I guess the takeaway would be like know what you like and look for jobs that match with that. So as I explained at the beginning of my career, I was like focused on lecturer because we think that, I want to do research. It seems like the only goal is lecturer or researcher. But actually there are a lot of other jobs in academia or that are research adjacent or not even in academia. I mean, I don't know about the private sector, but I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities in like out of academia that would still satisfy your needs, like in terms of what you like about research. But that might not be like the first thing you would have thought about when you started like doing a PhD, for example. So yeah, for me, like, yeah, the important part was realizing I actually just like those technical challenges and I like to, find like solution to those problems. Like, yeah, act as a puzzle solver kind of. And yeah, working specifically on my project, like it was nice doing my PhD, but it was not the most important thing for me. Working in a team on like someone else's project and providing like the tech support for them is also like very, very nice. So yeah, in the end, I find myself really happy in this position. So yeah, I got to keep the best of what I like in research and almost get rid of all the parts that I didn't like. So
writing, for example.
Yeah, but basically that I don't want to write.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I come in? I think Rémi raises a really good point about taking a look at what you enjoy the most about your current situation. So looking back, I always really enjoyed giving advice to people, advice and feedback. I liked having an opinion about things and telling people how I think they should do things. I mean, not in a bossy way, like I didn't care if they take it or not, but
Yeah.
you know, people start discussing something and I have some ideas and I say the ideas, but then I don't actually have to do the work. I'm just having thoughts and then I let them go. And now I feel like I'm building momentum towards this. Yeah, but the doing and the writing is the hard part. Let's just avoid that.
It
Which
is
is
the
maybe
hard part.
not entirely true, but yeah, I definitely see. So for example, I had I think quite a lot of PhD students relative to my career stage, and I really enjoyed giving them advice on, you know, how to improve their conference presentations and their abstracts, and what they might be thinking about to grow at that stage in their career. And this is really very similar to what I do now, but just with other academics, and in a less specialized way, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, just one thing quickly is that another thing that I'm undertaking as part of my job now is coaching training. And this is also very related, I would say. There is a market in coaching for academics because it is a career that requires a lot of orientation and support. And I think more and more people are realizing this. I meet lots of people who do freelance work or have their own consultancy and have these kinds of coaching qualifications, or even just very similar grant writing or grant advice. Yeah, so there are lots of careers available.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to know, like more possibilities like within. So can I ask, like, those people who are doing those coaching, are they like stay in academia, like do they have like teaching jobs and stuff, and then on the side they do those like coaching jobs, or?
There are different models. So one of my former PhD students, Danielle Turton, is a part-time senior lecturer. And then on the side, she has her own coaching business.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
But then there are
Yeah.
people who, you know, they come out of their PhD and they really go in the coaching direction full time. But they still have insight into the academic world and the challenges of research.
Yeah. That's good to know. Oh, and I was just going to ask that because it's really nice to hear you, like when you mentioned I like to give advices to people, and so I was going to ask, like, so did you enjoy like supervising students when you were like working as a lecturer, or because like that's a big part of like working as a lecturer, no? Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have this receptive audience to suggest things to that you think are interesting, and then they go and do it. What's not to like?
Yeah. So and now it's just like reflecting back to what you were saying. Like right now, your job is really like a level up, because you used to like give advices to supervise like students. Now you're like supervising academics. So yeah, I think that's
telling them things like, I think you should collaborate with that person from another department. You can work on this question together because I think you would have this angle on it, and they can take it or leave it. But I find it fun to have those conversations.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
I think if I can also give my little takeaway, because I think for me the main one was be open-minded and be flexible, because I'm not sure if everyone is like this, but I'm definitely like this. I'm a bit of a control freak. And I have these plans and I want to abide by them, and get extremely stressed out when they don't work. And I'm talking even if we plan to go to the movies this night and then something changes, it already stresses me out. So it's impossible to think of your career this way. It's just impossible. First of all, because there are so many things you're not aware of. Second, because there are so many circumstances outside of your control. So I definitely, for me, it was a big point of growth is not to think of this as something that has to go the way I envisaged it, but actually to embrace this uncertainty, because it does open your horizon so much. And it teaches you new things, and to embrace it and kind of be excited about it. And then, yeah, believe in yourself, because there are so many opportunities that are actually accessible to us, but it might take a while to even to consider them. Because when you first see some option, you might think, well, what do I have to do with this? But actually, we've got to have to do with a lot of things.
Yeah, I think, well, it's just when you're talking about, having an open-minded, it reminds me of like at the beginning of our panel, I think we were touching on the topic of like the training of linguistics actually made us a little bit less open-minded. Because especially in the past, nowadays, I think a lot of institutions, they are trying to embrace like more opportunities for especially linguistic students. But I heard a lot of professors from the past, like in the old days or older days, their mindset of like linguistic is always about, oh, then you just go like this way, this is the only path, you go teach. So it just got me thinking like why this happened like for our field, or maybe it could be like a academic thing, like maybe in other fields like people also like are less open-minded when it comes to like career development after academia. Yeah, I don't know, I just wonder like why linguistics training put us in this kind of position, especially in the past. Is curiosity.
Yeah, I don't know how linguistic is different to other disciplines here. I can imagine that some of the discipline has much more direct links to industry, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas linguistics is a bit like it's as all arts and humanities, it's just a bit too
Yeah.
maybe theoretical in a way. But I can also imagine that the attitude would be different because the situation was different and the opportunities were different. In a way, now we are forced to be more open-minded. But then I think, although it has its bad sides, it definitely has a good side as well. And the fact that we, have to be more flexible and have to think outside of the box is actually not such a bad thing for personal development.
Yeah. And I think that relates to what Yuni was talking about, like for phonology, like it's so unconscious, like people have like hard time like tapping into like what is really going on. But compared to something like climate change, everybody can relate to it because it's like happening every day. So yeah, I think that explains something. Although I guess it's maybe because I invested a lot of time in social linguistics, and especially discourse analysis and conversation analysis, and psychology and like sociology. I always think that my work, or like social linguistics, like some areas of social linguistics, they are super related to like everybody's like, then why people don't get it? Like what is social linguistics, what is linguistics? But I guess because there is like a gaps between all areas of like linguistics, so maybe that's also why. And I found it difficult to transfer my linguistic aspects knowledge to general like audience as well. So yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, I think growth has been mentioned, and this is kind of continuing the same theme of kind of follow, your passions and be open-minded. I didn't realize that well, I didn't realize how much potential for growth there was outside the career path I had envisioned. And conversely, staying on the career path I'd envisioned, doing maybe more of the same thing but better. Yes, that kind of is growth, but just qualitatively, I'm learning about completely different things that are still relevant to research. So if I go back to a more academic job someday, I'm going to have so much knowledge about, national research priorities across fields, interdisciplinary collaboration, funding, just how things work. So I feel I've learned more in the past couple of years than I had maybe learned, because once you've been doing the same job for a while, then yeah, it kind of tails off a bit.
Yeah. Well, I have a question again. Will you consider like going back to, I know it's like uncertain, but will you consider going back to doing like a research, like, or more direct research type of things? Because now like Yuni and Masha, you both have like so much knowledge of like the funding bodies and how those like funding application works, and you're like the expert in the area of like applying for fundings for like research. So is there like a possibility for you to think about, right now maybe I have like more knowledge of like applying for funding and stuff. Maybe I can think about like going back to do research, or is there a possibility because of the knowledge that you have now?
I think for me, the door to research is never going to be closed. Actually, it reminded me of another point of discussion I had in mind, is the identity crisis that might happen. Oh. Because when you were always thinking of yourself as a researcher, and then suddenly you're doing something else, then at some point you're thinking, okay, so but what am I now? Am I academic? Am I not academic? I think the job, at least for me in uni, I can be pretty sure the job we do doesn't make us less of a researcher, because I definitely feel that I am, as I say, applying all of the same skills and approaching these things from this perspective, and that's what makes it successful. So even now I feel that the border with the research is not super sharp, and I'm kind of doing a little bit of this. Yeah, I can definitely imagine jumping in and out and do kind of this and that. And I think you mentioned it, Tong, that this does seem to be quite a kind of successful pattern, that people don't stay within one thing, they don't stay within the other thing, but they actually do this and that, and they use the experience, kind of the merged experience from both, to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that, yeah, like Masha, I would certainly be open to it. But if I would only apply for something if there was something I really wanted to do and I, needed the resources to do it.
Yeah.
Not because I needed to meet some target for promotion or some income target for my department. So it's hard for me to imagine going back to a stressful life.
Yeah.
I don't know what Rémi thinks. I mean, Rémi, I have a question for you. I can stay on a couple of more minutes and then I'll need to go. It's just that we're such a nice, cozy group that I don't want to kill the vibe by dropping out.
It's okay.
But, yeah, Rémi, do you get your name on papers if you've been contributing?
Yes, yeah. So of course it depends on how much I contribute. If I just show someone how to use a piece of equipment, I'm not gonna have my name on a paper. But like if I'm more like involved into like the data collection or the data analysis, yeah, of course. And I do contribute to writing the papers as well, like the methodology part, like the all the stats, for example, like the results. Like I can write like part of the some part of the paper. I can at least contribute into writing, so I do get my name. Not as the first author, of course, because that's going to be the main person that does the study. However, I do have some freedom to do my own research if I want to. So I could like be working on my own own things as well. Just I'm satisfied with the projects I'm working on at the moment, and I'm not like working toward that. And actually, I'm also able to do some teaching. I'm just not doing it at the moment, but that's allowed in my contract. So it's also things I think about. Like if I want to go back on the path of lecturer, for example, I could be like trying to publish more with me as first author, try to do more teaching, and then, you know, continue to build up my CV in that orientation. But that's really not where I'm at the moment. I'm really happy with having my name on papers, even though it's not the first name.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to go pick up my kids from school.
Thank you, Yuni, so much for coming.
Really nice
See
to see
you.
you.
Thank you.
And
Goodbye.
this is just to close. This is just proof that, you know, I see Tong, you know, at this conference at the LAGB, and she's a student. She's not really working in an area related to mine. Why should I talk to her? Well, because she's nice. She seems interesting.
That's the importance of like being nice to everybody, not being mean to everybody.
Yeah, and I guess maybe the advice some people might get is like be strategic about who you talk to, but I think that's a bit crap too, because you can
No, I don't
you
agree.
can tell when people like are like not caring about
Yeah.
talking to you. Oh, so
Yeah.
we've actually lost our
Audience.
our
Oh, it's
audience.
okay. It's okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, if you have to go, you can go, and I will see you in future, you know, discussion, conversation, emails, or conferences.
yeah, thank you very much.
It's
Nice
been
to
really
see all
nice
of
talking to
you.
you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So after all the bright sides of you know, like our not our your you know, journey, my one of my questions in my prompt is that like, do you guys have some struggles you feel comfortable to share? Because I know it must be not that easy to transfer from like one environment that you are like really familiar with, and then to an exciting environment but quite new you know, a setting of your like current work. So can you maybe tap into that side, like not so bright but still like figuring out what to do aspect of your work?
I think, well, there are some struggles which already mentioned, so I'm not gonna repeat them because they're there. I think one thing I found not very straightforward, and it also might come from my cultural heritage because I'm Russian and we are quite direct. Is that when you are a researcher, actually you don't need so many people's skills, right? You can always say whatever comes to your mind. At least that's what I did. And then people will, you know, they're gonna interact with you. If you connect, they're not gonna interact with you. If you don't connect, it doesn't really directly relate it to the ability working in the teams. It's more like about how do you position yourself. But what I found here is that when you work in this position, which is specifically about working with people, and we all know not all people are easy. And not everyone will have to deal with is super nice or respectful. So actually learning how to communicate with them so that it still is productive, and that you can still kind of make the communication useful and then can talk to them some other time. This was something I didn't expect is even going to be an issue, but then I found myself in the need of learning it a little bit. So that was quite interesting and expected challenge that I don't know, Rémi, if you had the same thing, because all of these careers we're talking about, they are about working with people, and that requires a certain skill set which linguistic education does not exactly teach us.
Yeah, I think like working with people is hard, and especially in this this field. I think it's a field that attracts a lot of strong egos, good and bad. And yeah, I don't have like a specific struggles I could like mention in particular about that.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I do understand the feeling. Like working with people is always hard, and I guess a little bit harder in academia than the rest of the fields. Because the people have strong opinions, and yeah. So
Yeah, I can relate to what Masha you were talking about, cultural background as one factor. I mean, of course, like working in academia, like people have strong opinions, as Rémi was mentioning, but also like cultural background. I also found it quite difficult to adjust, and especially within academia. I think I can't really think of any industry or area of profession in the world that I know have such a diverse community, in terms of like diversity of like nationality and ethnicity and cultural backgrounds and all that. And I like, according to my knowledge, I think academia, people can be tricky in general, and then people from all kinds of different backgrounds can be especially tricky. I think I can share a little bit of like my experience, because so I did my BA in China, and then I did the exchange in Taiwan. You will think that like China and Taiwan, they're speaking Mandarin Chinese, but it's actually quite different culture. And then I after that I went to America, Pittsburgh. I did my master there, and I also worked there as a computational linguist for a year. And then I come back to China, and I was like, oh, think about like what should I do? And then I explored a little bit in the industry, and then I decided to come here like in London to do my PhD. So, but what I'm saying is that like within all those like transition, I found cultural background plus individual like characters, the combination of them is quite difficult to adjust, because I remember vividly, if Rémi, you remember vividly, my first year, I was like, like what is going on? Like how do I adjust? Like I do speak English, like because like I studied and worked in America, but it's a different culture. And also like not everywhere in America like they have the same culture. Like Pittsburgh is like East Coast and closer to New York, but they have their own kind of like communication styles, and I try to accommodate. And then after that, I try to accommodate to the things in the UK. Definitely, it didn't work, and or part of them it didn't really work. And I try to think about how do I really communicate with people, and you have to think about like people's cultural background, and also like the individualism, and also how do you accommodate, but also remain yourself, like being just yourself. So I think not only in academia, but any profession, that's a big challenge. But within academia, because our diversity in the community, in the academic community, is especially really, really challenging situation. So I'm so proud that I survived my first year, because that was a struggle. Yes. But yeah, I can definitely tap into and like communication as a big part of struggle, especially Masha, you are working with people from different fields. Even though I know that Yuni said that it's actually easier than she expected to understand what's going on with other people from other fields, but I'm not sure. Maybe sometimes you do struggle a little bit about how to communicate with engineers. I actually had a really hard time like communicating with engineers, like computer engineers, when I was working, because they speak their own language, not like English or like what this kind of language is, like technical language. Yeah.
Well, in my position, so because my position is actually only within the Faculty of Arts, Business and Social Sciences. So I don't deal with engineers, I don't deal with medical science, and with this respect, but a bit different with the uni because she oversees the whole university. With this respect, it's usually quite easy for me to understand what people are talking about. But in our work, we don't only talk to academics, we also talk to HR, we also talk to finance department, we talk to people who deal with procurement, with due diligence, and then to all of these grant funders. So it's really diverse backgrounds, and everyone comes with their way of not only speaking, but their way of thinking about things. And so the challenge here is also make sense of these different ways of communicating and kind of bringing them to the to one common denominator. But again, that's where I think our education actually helps, because we try to decode some things. That's what they said, but what they actually mean, what they actually know, and are they the only people who can give this information? All of this, it's a little bit of detective work, which we used to do with our data all the time, but now we do it with people.
Yeah, which is much more complicated with people, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so I think the time is almost there, and shall we end our panel with a cliche way of like giving, a piece of advice to like future linguistic graduate students, not believe in yourself, because like we meant, like Masha, you mentioned that already, not that because it's not good advice, it's really good advice, but something new. Can we come up with something new?
Okay, Rémi, I give it to you.
Sorry, so I start with the...
The slogan.
So actually, it's kind of related to the struggles I wanted to talk about, so I think it will be good. It's very cliche as well, but I guess I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome. Let's get rid of that. I know a lot of people are struggling with that. Well, I think we're all struggling with that at some point. I think postgraduate students, they really know about that. And we know well about that. So now there's the meta imposter syndrome. People who know about the imposter syndrome, but they think, no, they're not like me. I'm the real imposter, but they all think they're the imposter, but they're not like me, who is the real imposter.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, let's remind that most people, like the vast majority of postgraduate students, they're doing great. And in the rare case that they're not doing well with their thesis, it's just a thesis, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, what you do is fine. You're doing great. And yeah, just to give an example of how I still feel the imposter syndrome. As I'm the only lab manager in the department, and if someone asks me about some technical things that I don't know about, then I'm like,
I just don't know.
I don't know, and it's like I will have to learn, and I'll just have to deal with that. And like, yeah, I'm sorry, I should be the person that should give you the answer, but I don't know, so I will just have to learn, and I will come back to you, and we'll figure it out. And don't feel too bad when you don't know. And let's get rid of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I like this slogan. Maybe I should change the title of this panel as let's get rid of imposter syndrome in academia. But yeah, I agree. Like maybe instead of like pressuring yourself too much on things we don't know, maybe more on the like learner perspective, like because we are still learning, like we all like for lifelong learning. So yeah, and Masha.
I think my kind of final advice is gonna get back to networking, because again, just thinking of my own experience, quite often I would consider speaking to someone, or I would have a problem, and I was thinking, well, maybe I should talk to this person. And I said, well, why would I do that? How will they help me? They don't know my situation, and so on. And I think this is a big mistake. So the advice is that there is no such thing as a dead end. And if you do feel that you're trapped, talk to everyone. Literally, that's where the quantity really gives you something. Talk to your relatives, talk to your friends who are not in academia, talk to a person next to you in the in the line to the canteen. You never know where will you get the advice from. And sometimes it is the connection because someone knows of something. But sometimes it's just an idea that comes people to mind, and then they thought, oh, I never thought about that. And it is fantastic how many great advice I have gotten from people I didn't even want to speak to, because I just thought, well, they're not from my field. They probably have completely different life. So, and also it's amazing how many people actually like to help. Because I think we expect that asking for help is something that would be only if there is absolutely no other way. It's maybe related to imposter syndrome in a way, but I always have this kind of fear, well, I don't want to trouble you with my problems. I mean, I'm so sorry, but I have to ask. But actually, as long as the person asking help for is not crazy overloaded with their work, the chance is really high that they're going to help and they're going to like it.
Yeah.
So don't afraid to ask for help and talk to people.
Yeah, I can thank you for the cliche or the slogan. Actually, I can relate to that much more. Going back to my first year experience again, I think I benefit a lot from just talking to my cohort, and even when I was feeling that, oh, I shouldn't be talking about those troubles and they must be so bothered. But as Yuni also was saying that, like, people in general like love to give like advices and help, because I think maybe that's like a human part of us, just know that we are valued, like people need something from us, we can offer something to other people and also make the connection. Also, yeah, that comes back to connection. I think that's also a way like making connection, as Masha was you were saying. Yeah, okay. So I'm really happy to have this panel today. And even though, unfortunately, we don't have much turn up, but that's fine. And we will post it and more people will see it. And thank you so much for making it. And yeah, I will see you guys. Well, Rémi, I will see you after. And Masha, yeah, I will see you maybe as a new connection, maybe somewhere else. We don't know. Yeah.
This sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys and have a nice day, week. Yes. Bye.
Thank you so much for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Da.